Well, thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming. This is the first annual BSides event, and I'm very proud to be part of this. My name is Corey Kay. I am the ISC Director of Communications for the Alberta chapter. For those who are not familiar with who ISC Squared is, ISC Squared is one of the largest, or possibly the largest, organization of volunteer security professionals and security practitioners with about 120,000 members globally. There are about 60 chapters throughout the United States and Canada. We are one in Alberta, and there are about 100 chapters globally. So it's a very big group. ISC themselves, we lovingly refer to them as the mothership. They supply us with training and materials and information, and they promote the events, and they are instrumental in helping us with these kinds of things. They have a number of security certificates. The most common one is the CISSP certification, which has been around for a very long time. ISC Squared has branched out into various other areas with very specialized securities, most notably the healthcare profession, and also the most newest one is for cloud security. So there's sort of overarching security certifications that can be applied for and granted, as well as specialty ones as well. The Alberta chapter specifically, the part that we're part of, is a large group of volunteers who help make events like this possible. The BSides event is a very exciting event that we're very proud to be part of. We're very proud to be part of any event that has anything to do with the promotion of the safe and responsible use of technology, whether that be social media, IoT devices, you name it, it goes on and on and on. So, but without the volunteers with ISC Squared and the exec community and all that stuff, events like this don't happen. As Thomas had pointed out, they started here with very little budget, and here we are at a large 2-day event. So this is quite amazing that they were able to pull this together. And I just want to, again, put a special thanks to Harvinder, because Harvinder has been instrumental in sort of gathering the troops, making this whole thing happen. So without him, this would not have happened. And so I want to just please everyone give a round of applause to Harvinder. Thank you, Harvinder. It's been great. You've done an amazing job, and his entire team. Again, thank you all. We've got a booth out there. I've already talked to many of you. Some of you have told me that you're looking to take your exam very soon. You don't have to be a member to engage with us. We're happy to talk to you, and especially if you're businesses and you're looking to bring in security professionals, we're happy to help you find qualified and knowledgeable people. But of course, stop into the booth. We're right outside. Take a look. We're happy to provide you with any information and that we can to help you sort of through your security career. So thank you very much, and have a good show.
So just a quick announcement about the CTF event, Capture the Flag. If you are interested in participating in that, Harvinder just said come out to the registration desk and we'll inform you about everything that's going on with that. So just another thing too I would like to state before we hand the mic over to Tim, as I'm trying to load up his presentation. Sorry, give me a second here. Okay, so we do have time for question and answers after every talk, as far as I understand. So if you are interested in asking a question, we do ask till you wait until after the presentation and over, and simply raise your hand. There will be some volunteers with some wireless mics being able to roam around, and you'll be able to ask your questions. So, so with that, I would like to introduce our first keynote, Tim McCreight. So Tim McCreight is from Edmonton originally, from Nate. I'll let him introduce himself, but he's got a talk on essentially finding harmony, so translating all the techno-babble speak into to business, and some stories from the trenches of his long career in information security. So with that, let's get the talk started. So Tim, the stage is yours. Welcome to BSides.
Thanks. First up, can everybody hear me? Yes. Awesome. Even in the snow? No, I'm just, okay. Yeah, I'm from Edmonton. I should know better, right? I should know better. Thanks, everyone, and good morning. I understand my place in the sequence of events for this morning. I'm here to keep you guys laughing, not throwing shit at the stage, and getting ready for the next set of speakers. So let's see if I can pull this off in 35, 40 minutes. What do you think? Sarcasm too heavy early this morning? Is that? Let's take a look. A couple of things I want to talk about today. I just want to go over a real quick agenda. I do this because I've been trained by the government, so I always want to have an agenda either behind me or in front of you. So let's go through this really quickly, shall we? I'm going to pick on the government a lot. You'll hear this coming up. I want to talk about me just a little bit, not a hell of a lot, just a little bit. Some headlines that you folks may have already seen or had a chance to take a look at or been part of even. So I want to pick on executives because I am one now. So I want to talk about what we see, what we hear, and honest to God, what we feel when we're dealing with a group of people just like you. Yeah. And then I want to talk about things that we're missing, and how am I going to translate some stuff? I want to give you this ability to find harmony in your career, dealing with guys just like me, so that you can go home and not quietly drink and wonder why your dog is looking at you funny, that you can actually come up with a better solution for managing yourself throughout the day. I'm going to give some questions and answers at the end. But first up, look, if you got to leave, I'm okay with it. Right? I don't have to. Is this on film now? Am I in? Okay. All right, a couple of things. Let's go over this from a headlines perspective. I just really want to talk about, actually, before we get going on that, I want to talk about, if I can get back to me before we get going to this. Let's go through this. There we go. Hey, perfect. So, really quickly, this is year 37 in security. Yeah, I started in 1981. Some of you may have heard this story. I got out of the Air Force, the reserves, in 1981. I ended up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I don't know why. I just did. And I was an air movement student. I got out. And I was so desperately in need of a job at the time because my mess tab when I left the Air Force was fairly horrific. So I think I owed more to the government for drinking than I did for what I made. And I took a job as a security officer in a hotel in downtown Winnipeg. It was called the Place Louis Riel Hotel. And it's still standing today. So anyone ever been to Winnipeg? That's too bad. So my job at the Place Louis Riel Hotel was to make sure that the hookers got kicked out of the hotel if they weren't paying their bill, and get rid of the drunk curlers, because the year I was there, the Bonspiel, the Canadian Bonspiel, was in Winnipeg. So we had all these drunk curlers. That was my introduction to security in 1981. And I got lots of stories about what do you do when you go to a room and the hooker's naked asking to spend more money with you. So yeah, that's a different story. Anyway, let's leave that. So throughout my career, what I figured out though is I looked at things just a little bit differently. Whether I was a security guard or whether I was an investigator or whether I was somebody who was looking at an IT screen or when I was looking at a screen from a firewall instead of logs, and I kept trying to figure out why am I looking at things a little differently? Because I knew I was odd to begin with. But my perspective of what I was looking at was more from, well, what does this mean to the business? What does this mean to the company? What does this mean to the organization? I wasn't just there punching the clock and trying to figure out how do I get that drunk curler out of the lobby without getting my head kicked in. I was looking at things a little differently. And it's this idea of enterprise security risk management. I'm going to get there. We'll get there eventually throughout the presentation. Yeah, I love dogs more than people. Sorry, but I do love dogs more than people. And I'm spending my time now at this place called the Alberta Animal Rescue Crew Society. Really odd name, but it's ARCS in Calgary. And I get a chance to spend, I've been there for a year now as a volunteer, and I get a chance to spend time with dogs that have come out of some pretty horrific circumstance, but because nobody's figured out how to actually speak dog or understand how to work with dogs, they rate them differently. Like they give them high bite risks. They make sure that these dogs are left by themselves or nobody goes and play with them. So this guy here I'm working with, I just finished, he got adopted just a little while ago because of this picture. And this guy was a level 5 bite risk that was in a dog fighting ring in a reserve outside of Calgary. So I actually figured out how to talk to this guy and get him to actually, I don't know, lick you on the face. So translation works. Okay, maybe it's just with dogs, but translation works. I met Nate. Yeah, I was talking to Dom about this. We were here in this room 20 years ago in September when we first started CST in 1988. Jesus, that's like 20 years ago. That's a long time ago. And for me, it was like I was sitting in the back with all of the cool old kids because I think I was like 32 at the time when I went back to school. I pulled myself out of the workforce. I had a really good career in physical security. I had gone from kicking out hookers and drunk curlers, and I actually was doing investigations and interrogations with a local telephone company that quickly became a national phone company. Is that subtle enough? Did I do that good enough? Starts with a T? Anyway. So when I first started there, it was still a government-run organization, and we had some great physical security programs, and I was one of the managers of that. But in 1998, I thought, this internet thing's not going away. I should maybe learn a little bit more about it. So I pulled myself out of the workforce, cashed out my RSPs, and went back to school. And I ended up here at NAIT. And I spent 2 years here. So Dom and I were here we had 30 other people when we started in this room. It was pretty awesome. And we were talking about this here on the side, that some of the folks who've graduated from this program have actually done some pretty impressive things in their careers moving forward. Me not included, but some folks have done some really impressive things. It's subtle, right? The sarcasm, it's worse, right? It just gets worse throughout the morning. I've had a chance in my career to actually go and present globally. I've worked overseas in Southeast Asia, I've worked in Japan, I've had the pleasure of speaking in Europe, and it's because I started my career, when I got out of NAIT and graduated 2 years later, I have to figure this out, 2 years later, I had a chance to actually become a VP in a security software company, and then I've held the role of CISO in 4 organizations because of this, right? Because of this. So I don't do anything technical anymore. I don't do that shit anymore. I'm not that guy, right? I do this stuff with dogs. I'm not that technical guy anymore. But the skills I learned here set me up for a career that has given me a chance to travel the globe, to speak to audiences like you, and sometimes I actually had to have a translator so that the folks in Japanese could figure out what I was swearing about, right? So it's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm from Edmonton originally, yeah. What the hell happened here to the weather, you guys? And can I ask, how bad is this LRT system going to be for the next little while? Sore point? Sorry, let me leave that. All right, some quick headlines. I'm not going to bore you guys with a lot because I'm sure you have seen this already. But let's go through a couple of them just for shits and giggles. So you notice the profanity kicked in right away? Yeah, okay, so the nudie is going to start, right? Right here. Yeah, I can't do this anymore, sorry. There we go, just layer 1. Yeah, we're just going to go layer 1, right? So first up, 2,000 accounts are identified by hackers, or do we call them security researchers now? What's the politically correct word of calling that? Anyway, so from a hacker perspective, these were identified as at risk. Anybody remember reading this article? Anyone? That quiet? Really? Wow, I thought I picked some good ones. How about this one? Struts. Anyone's favorite application development program? Yeah, framework? Yeah? This was back in August 24th. Again, still, remember when the first struts came out? The first pain in the ass we all had to deal with? We had to start patching. We were panicking in the streets, people running around. Yeah, well, it hasn't gotten any better, right? This is one of my favorites, former telecom guy. Yeah, they actually remember hearing about this before. I think this was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this one was announced at Black Hat or DEF CON this year, that somebody actually got through the LTE environment. Wow, right? I'm sure that there were a couple of executives in some telecom organizations whose sphincters were tightening when this one was released. You can follow along anytime. You can laugh at some of these things, right? And not to leave Southeast Asia out, but it's nice that they actually identified that hackers were engaged by the Ministry of Defense as opposed to targeting the Ministry of Defense, and that they found some low to medium vulnerabilities. At least that's what they reported. Yeah, at least that's what they reported. And anyone go here? I used to go to Hacker all the time, right? HackerOne was one of my favorite places to go until I started reading stuff and I'm like, I'm spending way more time on Google than I am reading this. So I should probably let my really smart guys read this and tell me what to think about it, right? But if you haven't gone to this site, if you do get a chance, there's some amazing information that's up there and that you can distill it to a point where you can use it in your own day, in your own life, and I'm gonna show you how to kind of do that. But to get there, first, let's say with all of this stuff, right? See, okay, so here comes layer 2, right? We're gonna just keep, it's gonna get worse, right, as we get on. So as an executive, what are some of the things that I see? So I've gone from being a technical guy to an executive, right? And you come into my office and you show me, let's say as a telecom executive, that, oh my God, boss, that LTE network just got hacked. Holy shit, we're in trouble. You gotta see all this report. We've done some reviews. It's horrible, blah, 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 right? So as an executive, the first thing I'm thinking of, when I see this stuff come in, and I see you come in with your long face, and a big stack of data, and a really ugly PowerPoint presentation, well, this is what I see. It's The Walking Dead. Holy crap. There's pandemonium. What are we gonna do? Does anyone remember December 31st, 1999? Yeah. Familiar? Till finally someone in Australia said, hey, the phones are still working. Oh, I can still get gas. Look, I took $20 out of the bank. Didn't matter, we're still doing this, right in the street. This is what executives see, right? You come into the office, and I've had this. I have done this as a technician, and I've seen it as an executive. I've come in as a technician, and I've actually done my homework, right? Stacks of data. I've spent time correlating this with friends and family who understand this stuff. We've gone through this. We understand it. No, I can replicate this on any box out in the network. Boss, this is really, oh my God, you got to fix this. This is all I see as an executive. I got to put my arms up and run down the street, right? Because all you've done is scared the shit out of people. And don't get me wrong, it's fun when it's a kid or a dog, but it doesn't work when you're an executive, right? When this kind of stuff happens to me, the first thing I start doing is parts of my anatomy will begin to close, and one of them is my brain, right? As an executive, I stop thinking when you start giving me this stuff, because this is what I'm going to react to, right? Oh, the pictures get worse. Hang on. So, now I'm an executive. My favorite, now I'm on an international telephone conference. We're using translators so that I can figure out what the folks in Japanese are saying to me. And it's time to talk technical problems. It's time to talk vulnerabilities. It's time to talk issues and concerns. Did you not read the email I sent you with the 400-page report attached to it? Well, why don't you take a minute and take a look at that before I finish up with the conference? Anyone ever had one of those conferences? Yeah. I can pick a day in the government where I had a conference call like that with Ottawa, right? So just for fun, some of my days when I was at the Government of Alberta as the CISO, I would pick up a phone call and start walking to work at 6 in the morning because apparently in Ottawa, that's the center of the universe, and their call started at 8. So I would be listening to this bullshit on the phone in earbuds walking to my office, and this is what you'd hear. But did you not read the 400-page report I sent you? Yeah, and I'm listening to you now, and this is exactly what I hear. Muck, 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 muck. Meaningless. I hear nothing, right? Because if you're telling me I had to read a massive report, I had to take a look at all of these vulnerabilities, all of these exceptions you found. Oh my God, we did all this research. This stuff is really important, boss. You've got to understand this. Yeah, blah, 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 right? That's what I get out of it. Because you haven't attached context or meaning yet for me. You've given me more information. We're not running down the streets anymore, right? But you haven't given me context. Right? You haven't given me something I can work with. And the last one, and I know people don't appreciate this, but I do as an executive. Like, what do you feel? And here's an example. This is back, I won't pick on the Government of Alberta, I'll pick on Alberta Government Telephones. So when I was at AGT, and I was doing, I managed the fraud unit, the physical security team, the disaster recovery group, and I had investigations. So I had quite the little potpourri of stuff going on in my office every day. And one of the issues we had was we were launching a brand new service, and we were supposed to put in these brand new switches. So my guys, as the smart guys that they were, they took the switches back to the lab and they went, oh, boss, you're not going to believe this. But we found all these vulnerabilities. We found these big holes. Holy shit, this is really bad. So they actually showed me the stuff. They walked me through it. And first time in my non-technical career, because I was still pretty close to being a tech guy, I looked at it and went, wow, this is a real big problem. Why couldn't somebody catch this before you went and bought all this shit? Fair enough. So being the brilliant manager that I was at the time, I created this amazing presentation. Okay, not this amazing, but anyway, I had this great presentation. It was on PowerPoint, right? So it wasn't that great. I was going to say Harvard graphics, but that's dating myself probably. It was on PowerPoint, had all these great topics, pointed out specifically what should have happened in the buying process. What the hell were you thinking, right? Blaming the executives who had bought this crap that you're putting in the network. Awesome, right? Laid this out, and I watched the executive who was responsible for this, VP, right? And the guy who was, I can do this because it was a BlackBerry, the BlackBerry prayer, and then he stopped, then he put it down, then his face withdrew, and then he leaned back. Anyone play poker? Get what he was doing? Yeah, we'll talk later. So, what did this guy feel? Yeah, like this. That little kid left alone in the parking lot because mom didn't pick him up after the soccer game. That's it, right? That's what I did to this guy. I turned an executive into a little kid, and then I couldn't understand why for the next 2 years, this guy literally pissed on every project I brought forward from security, right? Look, McCreight's just crazy. We can't roll out with that program because that's going to cost too much money. Oh, and then I would get kicked out the door. What the hell is McCreight and his team doing? They're just impeding our progress for launching this next application. And McCreight gets kicked out the door. You can figure out where this conversation is going to go, right? So until this poor sap got laid off, thank Christ, I was stuck under his boot for 2 years because of the stuff I did in that presentation to him, right? I didn't take into account that an executive actually has feelings, actually gives a damn sometimes about the things you're going to say. And if you're taking a personal shot at him for his inability to see something that was glaringly a technical problem, right? No. I took a crack at the guy, and I lost. because the switches still went through. The fraud still happened. And I got this shit for the next 2 years. Right? Doesn't have to be that way. And we're getting close to how not be that way. So what's missing? So I've spent 37 years in this business, and I'm starting to get a little better at it than when I first started. Right? I can't move as fast as I did, so I don't think I can kick those curlers out. And I'm fairly certain that I would just be embarrassed as hell with the hookers standing in front of the door. But what I've done is I finally figured out there's a place in the security world for me. And it's not where you guys are today. And it's not doing the technical stuff that literally still scares me, because when I read this, I still have a kind of understanding of what it means. And then if I have a Google screen nearby, I can actually figure out what the hell is it? Oh my God, and then I actually get it. But what I figured out is the path that I've taken in the last 15 years of my career is, what if I just was going to help people that were just lost in translation? What if I could actually help you folks take the information that's in your head, that's in that stack of 900 pages, that's in that amazing PowerPoint slide deck that's going to take 55 minutes to get through and leave only 5 minutes for questions at the back end? What if I could turn that into something that executives are going to look at and go, damn, I should probably worry about this? Make sense? Want to know? So how do I get there? So what's the translation? And everyone's asked this, right? Tim, how do you get from A to B? How do I get people to understand? Well, this is it. It's just one word. It's risk. Right? Executives care about a couple of things in life. One, when is their bonus going to hit? I'm one of them, right? When do I get my bonus? What do I have to do to get to my bonus? And second one, what is the risk that's facing my organization? And is it going to be catastrophic enough that I'm no longer going to get my bonus? That's it. Am I picking any other execs in the room? Am I okay, thank God. I'm the only one. I always ask too, is there any lawyers in the room? Do I got to worry about lawyers? Okay, good. So from an executive perspective, that's all we care about. All that other stuff that, oh, well, we're doing great things for society and we're employing people. Nah, we don't give a shit. We don't care. What I care about is, when does my check clear? And if something's going to impact that check clearing, holy smokes, wait a second, kids, we got to figure this one out. I'm being very facetious, but understand this, right? Executives understand risk because they make those decisions on a daily basis. You don't see it, thank God, and you don't actually hear it when they go for coffee, or the phone calls, or the minutiae meetings that we have to sit down as executives to listen to people blah, 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 and then we have to figure out, yeah, we'll go this way. We make those decisions. How many people consciously made a decision to take 118th Avenue instead of 11th Avenue to get here today? Was it just me? Really? Crap, I screwed up. I took 18th and anyway. I'm going to take the LRT instead of the bus. I'm going to buy the insurance for my windshield as opposed to not. How many people do that? How many people pay the extra couple of bucks a month to pay for the windshield insurance? Nobody? Okay, thank God. Right, good. I thought you guys were like zombies. So can I ask then, from a risk perspective, did you save the 700 bucks to replace your windshield? Because you're driving in Alberta. Northern Alberta, right? Executives make risk decisions all the time. And they're balancing the objectives for the organization, the goals that the organization has for the next 1, 3, and 5 years, against the crap you just walked in the room with and dropped on the desk and went, we're in trouble, right? Executives make those decisions all the time. The trick is, what if I was speaking at a language that the executives understood, same as when I'm talking to the dogs at the shelter, what if I can get the dog to lick me as opposed to bite me? I know that sounded really bad. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna leave that. So, as an told you this doesn't get any better. As an executive, when you come into the room with this, and you only got like 5 minutes left to fix this problem because everything's gonna break and blow up, look, all I see as an executive is this. But we got a data center, or it's in the cloud. It's behind a cage. You got like a yellow box around it with cables in it. What? I don't understand. Help me understand. Because that's the struggle executives have, is the perception that I have had over the years that has been changed because of the world I'm in is not the same that I have my peers at other companies I've worked at. Their perception is, look, you got a data center. We gave you a shitload of money to go build it. You told me you have extra power. What more do you want? And then you gotta quit drinking quietly in your office, roll your eyes and carry on. But this is their perception. So the trick now is, what if I could translate the words that we know that are in trouble and give it something they can understand? Anybody speak Russian? Holy crap, really? Did I get this right? Don't answer it. Don't answer it yet. Hang on to it. Okay, good. Okay, thank God I was killing myself. Portuguese, anybody? No? How about Greek? German? Yeah? Am I close? Because, yeah, we're in shit. So I love Google, right? I should have bought shares when I had a chance. So all I did is I just sat last night and went into Google Translate and went, we're in shit, pick a language. Wow. What if I did the same to an executive group? What if I actually just, not say, we're in shit, but what if I, so just so you know, I actually swear, like, this is me, regardless if I'm speaking to a prime minister, or a premier, or a CEO. I don't really care anymore. I'm at that point in my career, I just don't care, right? And so when you kids get older, you can say the same thing. I just don't care, right? So from my perspective, when I get into this position, we are in shit, but we don't have to be, right? Like, we just don't have to be, because this is why. I'm going to start with this. So I talked about this thing called enterprise security risk management, right? This idea that what if I was able to translate business objectives, understand what's required to make my business and my company successful, looked at the risks that we're facing it, and then let somebody else figure this shit. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's start with this. Up on the top of this diagram, I know everyone's taking pictures. I'm going to give this slide deck out, right? So at the top of this picture, it begins with and ends with the business. This is a cyclical approach to understanding risk within an organization. And I start with the business. Why? They own this. The business sets the objectives. The business sets the tone for the organization. It identifies what they need to do strategically. And more importantly, it's telling everybody else, this is what we need to do to either serve our customers, make a crap load more money, or provide services to the citizens of fill in the blank, right? It begins and ends with that. Perfect. So as I get through this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at and understand from a business perspective, what are the assets I have on that first box when I head down that support the business objectives? And the stuff that we do, and you folks are going to talk about over the next 2 days, support this. Whether it is a vulnerability in an application framework, or whether it is an inability to log into the LTE environment because 2,000 accounts were hacked. Whether it's because the framework that I have that I keep having to focus on from an Adobe perspective keeps crapping on me, I got to keep patching, keep updating, etc. But that has a direct impact on this application facing the web to make more money, right? That's what executives want to understand and hear, is that you as a security professional, when you have found a complicated IT problem, can I link it back to the asset? And can I show how if that asset's no longer available because it was breached, it went down, it blew up, dude, you're not going to get your bonus this quarter. That's what executives understand, right? Because as you work through the rest of this cycle, once I head down here and once I understand what the assets are, it's our job now as security professionals to be that trusted advisor to the organization to get them to understand the risk. And not the, oh my God, I can't believe that that vacuum cleaner with a camera on top of it was hacked and somebody can see me while they're vacuuming remotely. I don't give a shit. What I do care about is if you're telling me that that Struts application framework that we have that's facing the web, that's generating $1 million an hour for us, could be at risk, now I'm going to care. But the risk has to be practical and pragmatic. Right? Every time I've gone in to talk to a bunch of executives to explain risk to somebody, if I haven't got a story where it actually could impact our business, they aren't going to hear. Right? We'll wait for you. Okay. From an executive perspective, what if you came in and said, look, we've got 35 applications sitting out on the web. All of them are based on struts, and all of them are vulnerable. That means you've got a 1 out of 35 chance of crapping out. Do you want to roll that dice? Do you want to roll the dice? And I've actually had discussions just like that when I was at the government. I've had it with other companies such as Suncor, Epcor, TELUS, pick a company. And every executive's like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, can I get 4 hours on Friday night to patch these babies and get them up to where they should be? Yeah, but Tim, we're going to have to take everything down for 4 hours. Awesome, I'm good with that. If you don't want to do it, terrific, terrific. Because I just went through the mitigation strategy with you. We can patch it, and we can fix it, or I can not patch it and take the weekend off. I'm good either way. I literally get paid either way. I don't care. Because at the very top, when you take a look at that box on the top of the business, the acceptance of it is from the business, not us. How many people have ever had to accept risk on behalf of an organization? How did you feel? Short of your colon puckering, how did you feel? Because I hated it. First day when I was at Suncor, first week actually, my crew came in and said, boss, you got to look at this letter and we got to get this thing signed by Friday. And I'm like, whoa, hey, wait, hi, I'm Tim. Nice to meet you, and can I look at this letter? And it was a vulnerability that was found on some fairly significant pieces of equipment that were running on a wireless network way up in northern Alberta that the potential could be then to turn the truck left instead of right. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about that. So no, I'm not signing this. And they said, well, but we've always signed it. Wait a second, you personally have signed this letter. Yeah, we accept the risk, we moved on. You're not to pick on, can I pick on analysts just for a second? You're a security analyst in my SOC, and you're signing off on a risk that could potentially impact us at $1 million an hour. I just need to understand your pecking order in the organization. No, we're not signing this shit. When I left Suncor, they gave me this great t-shirt. It said, team, we don't sign shit. It took me a year to beat that into their heads, but they finally said, yeah, wow, we have all these things we signed. Stop signing, it's not us to sign. So my first meeting with the executive, when I went back with this letter going, I'm not signing this shit. Again, I'm not signing this shit. And well, but Tim, you always have. No, not anymore. You will sign, because in this diagram, you're the guy, right? This is a catastrophic enough risk, you're the guy. And besides, you're the one who set this objective. So this shit ends with me. You're signing it. And they went, well, no, we can't have that. Oh, you mean so we can go back a box and look at what are the options to mitigate the risk? Yeah, can we do that? Awesome, let's do that. It was like a 4-hour fix. But my guys would have signed it, because that's what they do, right? My favorite line when I was in security was that, well, we'll just give it to security because he gets shit done. There's a lot of shit on my presentations, I've just heard that, right? So I'm kind of worried about that. So I went from, at the government, Mark's here, yeah. I went from the government, we started doing our managed security service, then we rolled that out to a partner, we gave it to somebody else. Then we decided, let's do some forensics. We'll take that on. Why don't we do risk management? We took that on. Tim, you're doing such a great job, we're just going to throw DRP, BCP your way too. Sure, shit, I'll take that on, right? What was I thinking, right? So in my career there, we had 4 incidents where we had to roll out the big red book going, is this a disaster? Flip to page 5, and we would flip to page 5. This data center fire we had, right? Well, it wasn't in the data center, but the water dripping down into the data sure caused some problems. Had a big flood in Calgary, folks remember that? We lost a couple of buildings, Slave Lake, big fire, yeah. Had a weapon go off in White Court, yeah, they're always fun, right? Those are always fun. But it's because as a security professional, we think that we continually have to embrace more and more to make our executives feel better and better. Stop. Stops today. Your job is to present risk to executives so they can understand it in terms that they're going to accept. And more importantly, when they do decide the option and mitigation strategy, this is the mafia. You can sign this or you can bleed on it. I don't care. But I'm leaving the room. And I actually I've done this at executives' offices. Put the paper in front of them, they go, what am I supposed to do with this? Sign it. You're accepting the risk. Oh, hey, my favorite in the government, I actually had a deputy minister go, whoa, hey, I'm not signing this. Hold that pose. And I took out my BlackBerry and took a picture. This is good enough. And he went, what? Yep, this is good enough. Your nothing is still an answer, right? It's not our job to accept the risk. It's our job to take the information that you have spent an incredible amount of time understanding and interpreting and turning it into results that link it back to the business, link back to the assets, and identify the risk to the business if that asset isn't functional. That's our job. And if we do it right, that's when we become the profession of security, not the industry of security, right? Big difference, right, between being an industry and a profession. This is the path to being that profession, because we're those advisors now. I don't have a skin in this game, right? If you want to go ahead, that's awesome. Just like a lawyer, just like a doctor, just like a dentist, right? A lawyer will give you advice. It's up to you to take it, right? My favorite is those Senate hearings, right? Guy sitting there getting grilled really quietly, and the lawyer leans over, you may not want to answer that question. Sneaks back out. If the dumbass answers the question, you're on your own, buddy. But I've given you that advice. Right? Make sense? How am I doing for time? Almost? Cool. Let's see if we can wrap this thing up, take it home. A couple more things. I think from my perspective, we'll leave the questions for last. I just want to go over this one more time. In the middle, this is where we live, right? Security lives in the manage the risk part. So whatever executives throw our way, and what we ever end up from a business perspective, this is what we have to manage it. From an incident response perspective, understanding post-mortem, what do those incidents bring to us, and what can I learn? And then what's that continuous improvement program look like, right, from a business perspective? Those are the things that we manage and we run. That middle box is what we run. Everything else goes around it, right? Make sense so far? Questions? I'm going to do that real quickly at the end. This is the one I want to get to. So I've been to a number of BSides already in my career. I had the pleasure of being invited to Edmonton and Calgary. Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. So this, anyone ever gone to the BSides site? Take a look. So Jack Daniels and his team wrote this down a while ago. Anyone ever met Jack Daniels? Awesome guy, right? Especially with a full beard and hat, awesome guy, right? Get him drinking, even more fun, right? Stories even better. What I want to look at is this last paragraph. It's an intense event with discussions, demos, and interaction from participants. It is where conversations for the next big thing are happening. This is what I wish for you folks for the next 2 days, is to have that next big thing here in Edmonton, that you guys can walk away from this after 2 days and realize that you were part of a next big thing. I'd love to come back here in 5 more years, so I can say I've been away for 25 years, and come back and see how things are in here. You guys have a great opportunity ahead of you for the next 2 days to learn from each other in this room, from the speakers coming to the stage, and have a chance when you get out there to talk to each other. Some of the best networking you're going to have, right, is when you get outside of this room and talk to each other during breaks, and lunch, etc. All right, questions? Got to be a couple. Like, does he have Tourette's and just like to swear a lot? Right? So, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. Great presentation. Can you go back just 2 slides back to the risk circle? I just have a question specifically about that.
Sure.
When talking to the executives, this is really helpful, and I've sort of adopted something like this, but the part that I struggle with is what are the sort of the key topics? And I'm just wondering, when I'm presenting this, I try to present it as sort of like a single page with all the information, and so I'm limited myself, so I'm not handing them the 400-page report. But do you or would you recommend attaching dollar figures to each one of these steps? And is the goal to say that the total risk is 100,000 versus the project is worth 80,000 and therefore it should be going forward? Or, can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone get the question, right? So what kind of information do you want to provide when you're presenting to executives, and what if you're going to focus on things like return on investment, right, from a risk perspective? I've tried to go down that path a few times. The question that I always get brought up with, well, Tim, how do you qualify your $80,000? How do you qualify the $100,000? So what I do is I take it up a level above. I focus on what the objective is and that the opportunity to miss that objective is high, and here is why. Right? So on the slide deck I have, unless it's a picture of a dog, I don't have a lot of text anymore. Right? The pre-read I give to the executives is about 1.5 pages. And the first thing I start with when I'm dealing with executives, because this is what I want to see, is what's the impact, what business objective is going to be impacted. Next line is what's the potential impact, and the third line is what's from an observed perspective, what's the mitigation strategy, positive or negative. And then I just leave at the bottom signed by and fill in the blank. That's all they get is 1 page. And it's about 5 paragraphs. And they read it and they go, is this it? Yeah, I'm going to spend 5 minutes talking about it, and then you guys are going to, in an executive room at the board of directors level, you're going to figure out what you want to do with it. It's easy from that perspective, but it sounds easy. The prep work to get to that point, it means that you're spending time at the line level, the manager, director, executive, VP, finally the board. So in each one of those times, I'm going to spend time advising, here's what we have found. At the line level, it's like, that's when you're going to see the hands up. Remember the zombie people running away. Oh my God. We'll spend time at that level as a manager level talking about what the potential issues are, right? The technical issues. Then you work your way up to the director, get into the VP role, get to the board. So the messaging gets shorter on the way up, but it gets more concise and it gets more business by the time it gets to the board. And the money, a couple of things. You can always get on the path that if we don't fix this, if we don't spend X, Y could occur. And that's terrific, but I've had that come back and bite me. My favorite was, if we don't spend X, Y could occur. And they decided, you know what, we're not going to spend X. Okay, great. Then they come back and said, look at all the money we saved because Y didn't occur. And then the question was, well, so what's your program bringing to the table, Tim? Oh, shit, right? Now I got to go back, start all over again, and bring them back down the path. You just have to be careful with who you're dealing with and understand your board, your executive. One thing I did, Mark, I think Mark's over here, we can pick on the government for a bit. I made my directors read every strategic plan for all 22 ministries at the Government of Alberta over a weekend. Man, these guys hated me, right? So 3 guys came back and go, what the? And I'm like, look, there's a reason. When you go talk to a CIO, an ADM or deputy minister, and they come up and say, man, we got this great website, we want to launch it on. Just a sec, what strategic objective does this new website support? And then you'd hear the, you know what, we'll get back to you. Awesome, thanks. So what that did for me is it cut out all the bullshit superfluous requests and the skunk work projects. So my guys, when they were focused on something, focused on something. Anything else? Any other questions? Does it make sense? Do somebody want to try it? Right? The difference with this kind of stuff is when you actually put it into the field and get it to work, you will actually find you get weekends off. Right? I actually had brown hair before I started with the government. Right? It took a long time to figure this out. It took 37 years to get good at this. But when you finally do, the chance for you to proceed in your career, to be looked at from an executive perspective that you are now a trusted advisor for risk as opposed to the technical guy who drops that 900-page report off on my desk. It's a huge difference in how you look at things. And the perception that your executives will have, whether it's at the board level, the VP, director, doesn't matter. They're actually going to look at you as a partner in the business as opposed to the security guy who says no. Right? That's the trick. And if I can leave that with you guys when I walk out this door today, I think I'm good. So if no other questions, time is good. I'm out. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tim.